Hey guys, it's Keith here today. I'm gonna be playing on Calepida Rift with my Marine Armor group. And today I'm gonna be playing on the left side here, so sit back, relax and enjoy the show. We're gonna be facing off with some cheaters today. So that was a kind of a surprise for me today. And this was the first time I was playing against cheaters too. I didn't realize they were cheating until until certain things started to happen in this video. But anyway, at the start of the game, we're gonna be engaging the enemy aircraft here, and I'm gonna be bringing in my own FA-18 Hornet, flying it to the left side here in order to draw out some of the aircraft to give my teammates here some breathing room. Unfortunately, my aircraft alone didn't really score any kills, but thankfully enough, my teammates' aircraft managed to score some very early kills early on. So that was a great job by my teammates over there. Anyway, as I'm playing on the left side of the map here, and this map is a pretty straight map, not much room to maneuver in terms of flanking side. So I was expecting it to be a very grindy battle indeed, so a lot of back and forth too. So my thoughts going into this map was to take it slow and build my forces up and see if I can push a spearhead along and sort of just break the enemy front and push on through with my teammates. So as the start here, we're going to be zooming down the main road towards Charlie here. I have my Lav here leading the charge, hopefully to catch out any enemy helicopters that are potentially coming down this road as well. As always, I'm always going to be bringing in a SHORAD or short range air defense, just so that I can cover my bases against enemy helicopter pushes in the very beginning of the phase. All the while, I noticed that this is a fairly open map with several open grounds to cover, so I thought this is a great place for my javelin teams, which includes, and in this case here, I have my recon Bradley selected, who is ferrying my cavalry squad equipped with the javelin instead. Now here we go. In the first engagement here, was gonna be bumping into the enemy target here, and I spotted the enemy Kamas probably carrying a unit, an infantry unit squad here. So my Lav was sort of in a position that can easily take those out. Thankfully enough, those are catching out the enemy supplies there and blowing that up very quickly too. Gonna be retreating my Lav very quickly, and realize because of the rocket there, it's most likely it's going to be a Metis or Cornet team. So rather than diving my Bradley straight down the road and taking fire from the Metis team, I'm going to be shifting my position here to the left side, where I see some buildings that my cavalry scouts can take cover in, as well as the forest there that my Bradley can move in. So things are progressing along the front. So far we've won that engagement, which was really nice for us. Gonna make sure that I cover all the flanking routes around Charlie. Again, it's always not so important to dive straight into the objective. It's more important to get your units into a good position so that you can take and win these engagements as well. So here my cavalry scout does manage to spot the enemy boomerang approaching. Gonna be missing its javelin missile there, but my Bradley using its tow missile also is gonna hit the building instead of the boomerang. However, you can see the 25mm Bushmaster cannon on the Bradley itself gonna be damaging the boomerang, causing it to flee into the tree line over here. Now I already have the second Bradley there. It's gonna be trying to engage that enemy boomerang. Patriot's gonna be turned on, but I noticed that that's a seed missile coming towards my Patriot, so I'm gonna be switching off the radar momentarily in order to dodge the enemy seed missile. It's gonna be bringing up the supplies, make sure that I top up the Patriot. You see at the very beginning of the game, My Patriot has already used up, I think, 3 of its 4 missiles, so that's going to be very important to keep supplied. Enemy artillery now coming in for my cavalry scouts there, so I'm going to be looking to dodge it, but my Bradley over here bumping into the enemy Razvedka team. And the Razvedka actually has a very decent RPG, so I'm going to be smoking that out very quickly and backing that off. I don't want to be taking unnecessary fire from the Razvedka team until I have sufficient troops to shock and engage the Razvedka team. So now double javelin teams are going to make it to these high rises here in order to get themselves into better positions to cover the road here. You can see my teammates on the minimap here and on the map itself is doing relatively well. We have pretty much a well-covered front line just to anticipate and engage the enemy forces that are coming in. Now the enemy helicopter, I think that's a orthonic or maybe even, actually I'm not sure what that is, but it does have the Vikir missiles, so I'm going to be watching out and making sure that my vehicles are covered and hidden right now. Gonna try to move my LAV into position to engage the enemy helicopter. AVP unfortunately getting caught out in the open there. It's gonna die pretty much freely to the enemy helicopter. So just gonna be patient right now, making sure that my infantry get into better position. My scout, especially once it gets into the high rise, is gonna be able to spot more targets for me, if any. The LAV is gonna be patient right now, waiting for the helicopter to push forwards, and gonna see if I can catch it out, catch it off guard.
Air defense here. We're combat ready. Roger. Moving out. Copy. Relocating.
There we go. So being patient and waiting for the enemy helicopter to pop out rewards me and the LAV itself with a solid kill and beginning really catching out that helicopter was important for us. You can see the enemy Verba or Eagler team down to very low health. It's going to be engaged by my own infantry instead. All the while I'm going to be pushing up ahead slowly just to prod and see if there are any enemy contacts left in here for us to contest and compete with. Now my main battle tank, the Abrams SEP V3, now moving down the main road. I'm gonna give it an order to just charge down the main road, make sure that I can one, support my forces here in the front line, but also making sure that I have enough firepower to engage anything that could be popping out really. So more enemy helicopters are coming in now. Double enemy cruise missiles coming in, but saved by my Patriot there. A very clutch 1 missile for 2 of theirs. I'm gonna be shifting it up and moving, relocating its position so that it doesn't get targeted by enemy artillery fire. LAV moving up. Now unfortunately, because I moved it too far up, the trees to its front actually blocked its line of sight. So it's gonna cost me the kill. But thankfully enough, we're going to be driving that helicopter far away from the front lines right now. Taking it down to low health is going to buy us some time to reorganize our positions and making sure that we get into a better spot to ambush these helicopters. I'm going to be facing with the mechanized, the Russian mechanized and VDV combo here, so I'm also expecting a lot of tanks and helicopters as well in this game.
Recon vehicle is good to go. Heavy armor is on
Yeah,
the field.
you see, we're just barely capping C right now, and honestly, we're not in a rush to capture the points. Now that we have forces in position to secure. Once we have the sort of the position in lockdown, then I'm comfortable enough to push my forces in to capture that point for ourselves. Now LAV causing a lot of damage to the enemy helicopters there. However, because they dipped down behind tree lines there, so my LAV kind of lost line of sight for a bit. But thankfully, my friendly player, ally here, bringing its Kiowa equipped with Stinger missiles, does manage to catch one of the enemy helicopter and causing the other to fall back very quickly. Patriot running out of missiles very quickly, gonna be forced to go back to the supply point to rearm itself. Another solid kill by my teammate there. Every single kill on the enemy really gives us the momentum and the opportunity to dictate how we're going to approach the fight from now on. And you can see the first off, I think 2 nukes going off in this game, and that was by my teammate over there. Or actually, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure right now. But yeah, a lot of things are happening in this game, guys. Bradley here in a position to catch a retreating boomerang out of position, so it's a solid kill for us. Enemy helicopter still posing a threat, even though they're down to low health. I'm gonna continue to keep up the pressure and continue to push down this road. And you can see how evenly spread my forces are. And I want to make sure that my units are spread out like that, so that they can cover more ground and support each other in terms of engaging any certain enemies. Spreading your forces out like this and keeping important pieces like the LAV AD in the center allows me to quickly react to certain situation that comes to play. So say, for example, if the enemy helicopter were to engage me on the left side here, I can shift my LAV over to the left very quickly, while still being supported on the front line by my tanks. But for now, I'm gonna move my LAV back to the supply point to rearm its Stinger missiles. As you can see, I'm bringing more infantry here. I'm gonna try to push my forces into Echo. Gonna be supporting my ally here. And you can notice on the map itself, this center, the jungle area, I mean the forest area here, we don't really have much line of sight of what's going on here, so I'm going to be shifting my attention now over to the center for a little bit. A second LAV AD now coming in clutch, taking out the enemy recon drone very quickly. Now, when you get spotted, or when you think you're spotted by the recon drone, it's always a good idea to shift your units around, change their positions, because the enemy most likely might have marked it on the map, and you know, if you don't move it, you're going to leave yourself susceptible to enemy artillery fire. Either cluster or cruise missiles going to come for you, and I'm pretty certain of it. Force Recon and Marines are now in position to sort of prod and see what's available in Echo. Again, another helicopter is going to be targeting my AAVP here, so it's going to be dipping it behind the building and hopefully avoiding that missile, but unfortunately failing to do so. The Bradley does spot the enemy Verba team as well as the Cornet team in these buildings here. So I'm just going to be microing that so that I can engage the Verba without having to expose my Bradley to the Cornet that's sitting over there. Now my pack does take down 2 missiles, however the third one does make it through and destroy my allies Brutus over there. So right now, with things sort of stabilizing, we're gonna continue pushing up our Marines and Force Recon. Gonna be taking very quick, gonna be quickly taking enemy artillery fire on that position here. But thankfully, it doesn't. My units are able to survive that artillery strike. I'm gonna be bringing up my own GMLRS here, or Gimless. I love calling it Gimless. In order to do some counter battery, because I was noticing that the enemy was using a lot of missile defenses as well as artillery of their own, so this is a good opportunity to use my Gimless in order to destroy their positions and sort of catch them off guard. Gotta be moving my tank and the Bradley itself over to clear this position out. Now thankfully we managed to dodge that. Unfortunately though, my LAV AD did get caught out, was destroyed by the enemy cruise missiles over there. Marine's gonna push in and sort of contest Echo right now. We're gonna be bumping into the enemy Cornet team. Marines against Cornet. Marines definitely wins out on this engagement. But it's always better to support your infantry, especially when the enemy artillery is so prevalent in this position here. You see, the fight is still going strong. We're slowly making ground and moving our units into position where we can engage the enemy units efficiently. A solid enemy artillery strike there. However, it doesn't really damage my unit so much. You can see the first tank starts to show up on the map here on Echo itself. We're going to be facing against 3 enemy T72s. Bradley, unfortunately, running out of smoke. He's going to be catching multiple missiles from that building, quickly taking it out. I'm gonna be forced to pull back my my tank. You can see the cruise missiles does actually come in and try to take out my gimlets, but because I shift queued my gimlets to a different position after it fired, it managed to get away very safely. Indeed. Force recon is going to be engaging those triple tanks there. While this is going on, I noticed that the main road we're not really taking any contact, so I'm going to fast move my units over there, see if I can take out or catch the enemy artillery pieces that were firing at us early on. Now at this point, the enemy helicopter does come into play, and unfortunately I don't have my lav with me because the lav that was covering the right side got taken out by the enemy cruise missiles. But thankfully enough, in this case, my ally did come in with their Stinger Kiowa, with my Viper coming in. My Viper is equipped with double Stinger pods, so that was able to catch out that enemy helicopter here. Now the second nuke does go off, and I noticed that in cases like this, when a nuke goes off and you can be sure that there's no enemy forces left in that point there, it's very important for you to quickly move up to where the nuke was, or really push your units up to a better position. Sort of take advantage of the disorder, chaos that was happening, and the fact that the enemy got killed. So I'm going to shift both my tanks up very quickly in order to capture Echo and see if I can take new position here. I love the effects of how the radiation causes your camera to sort of buzz a bit. But we're still going to be engaged by the enemy Cornet team in those buildings over there. So that's going to be a nuisance. Now my lav here, really solid positioning for me to be able to catch these enemy helicopters by surprise. Unfortunately, I'm unable to really capitalize on that and take them out.
MLRS ready. Send fire mission. Roger. Engage and destroy.
But my tank does manage to take out one of them, leaving the other one very low health indeed. Now I think it was at this point I realized that this game was kind of tough, because it seemed like the enemy sort of had like an infinite supply of helicopters, just constantly harassing our units there. But I honestly didn't think too much about it at the time being, right? Because it seemed like we kept engaging enemy units one after the other, and really scoring kills after kills. But throughout the entire game, it felt like we were fighting the entire Russian army itself. And things were about to get more interesting as we get on to the next phases of the game. Currently we're in phase 2. We've managed to secure 1 point for our team, and we're really full capping the points right now. So we're in a very comfortable position to be making ground and doing well so far. You see, my tank did get taken out by the enemy T-72, I'm gonna be pulling back my other tank that was really heavily damaged. Again, more tanks in the back there. So things are looking feisty so far. And thankfully I wasn't playing alone on this side of the map. I had several teammates here with me. And it's a really nice thing to see combined arms tactics at play. So my teammates were bringing the helicopters. Guys, that tank just destroyed the building in one shot. So it was something fishy going on for sure, but it'll become more apparent later in the video too. But for now, we've managed to hold back the enemy forces, the enemy helicopter push for the time being. So my forces are kind of battered, but I still have some pieces in play. So I'm gonna be bringing more reinforcement in for sure. But at the same time, I'm gonna make sure that my units are moving into a better position as well. Javelin team is gonna try to find a decent location. I'm gonna be putting it in this building here. But as soon as I make the order to push out, I notice that the enemy already has a ton of boomerang, well, a few boomerangs at least, pushing in very close, very quickly towards Echo. We're gonna be facing with a couple of boomerang. My other javelin team does manage to get a shot off. This is gonna be shut down by the APS of the boomerang there. Friendly helicopters pushing in, and my Viper also is getting into a position where it can engage these boomerang themselves.
Roger, moving out. Move and secure. Go.
But yeah, against double boomerang, it's gonna be tough for my javelin team to engage. However, my allies Kiowa does bring one down. Unfortunately, getting caught out by the Spetsnaz, I believe, that was hiding in the tree line there. SSO team pushing across the open there, trying to engage my javelin squad.
Rocket artillery at your command, sir.
Well, there we go, guys. What was that? A tank. So you saw that the T72 just shot 3 rounds very rapidly at my allies' troop there. It's not gonna be the last time we spot something like this. When I first saw that happening, I was thinking, what kind of tank is that? Because I played the Russian side as well, and I've used the T72 multiple times myself, and I never noticed how it could have done that. So we're gonna be expecting more of that to come.
Driver, move out. Someone asked for a ride?
So for the moment, because we were heavily engaging enemy helicopters for a while now, so I was opting to bring in Stinger teams myself to be putting them into positions where I can catch the enemy helicopters off guard. But right now we can see a massive armored push towards Echo right now, as well as enemy artillery almost catching out my left. Thankfully unable to do so. That's a lot of shells coming from that artillery piece. Now heavy combined arms push from the Russian side. It honestly is pretty cool to see the Russian wave coming in here. You can see enemy BMP on the side, on the road there. The tanks sort of taking the frontal engagement of the forest there. Now my Viper, really, my Viper was sort of the hero of this match here. Able to really shut down this enemy armor push. Now because the enemy was pushing without any adequate AA support, it really leaves their forces vulnerable to the Viper. So my Viper was managed to have free reign over the enemy tanks over there. While this is happening, I want to make sure that I put my recon into a position where I can spot any enemy pushes down the road. So that was what I was doing over there. Unfortunately, my allies Brutus does get taken out again by the enemy artillery there. Incendiary artillery does burn your units out, so it's really kind of difficult to escape something like that.
Viper ready for combat.
Now the Viper, thankfully surviving that engagement, does manage to take out the last enemy BMP that was pushing towards us. So again, my units were kind of battered there. I've lost both Stinger teams. I've lost the LAV that was on the right side. I lost another tank. This was really actually a very tough game to fight, because losing pieces like that, because that's a countdown timer, really puts you on a back foot. You're gonna have to wait for a few minutes before you can call in the assets. However, that did not seem to be the case for the enemy. So I just want you to remember that we took out a lot of enemy tanks and BMPs just like a minute ago, I think. And I think it's one of those cheats that I'm not sure how it works, guys, but it seems to me like the enemy has an infinite supply of tanks and units to be able to call up to the battlefield. And the reason why I think so is because that the reinforcement routes of this map is actually pretty long, right? So the points are very deep into the center of the map, so when you call in your units, it takes them relatively a minute or two to be able to reach the front lines. But throughout the entire game, it felt like every single minute there are fresh Russian tanks just diving towards us. And you can see now my Bradley was in a position to be able to spot the enemy tanks again. Pretty quickly, they were able to renew their tank force as well as the BMPs to be able to call in and get ready for our next push. But for now, because we were heavily battered, I'm just gonna take it slow and not push out any further until I can get more forces in play. You see cavalry scouts does manage to spot more information for us. Definitely the enemy was gearing up for another push towards our lines here.
Rocket artillery at your orders, sir.
Now, to me, keeping the Viper fresh and healthy is very important, and I'm now very mindful not to lose the Viper unnecessarily in this match, because I noticed how many actually the enemy was throwing at us. The Viper was really my answer and counter to these heavy, relentless Russian armored pushes. Throughout the front line, my teammates doing a really good job in holding the front lines. We are still holding the majority of the points or the objectives right now. So all we are doing right now really is just holding out, making sure that we sustain and we sort of defend ourselves against the endless Russian wave of tanks. Now, because my cavalry scout was in a very good position to be spotting all these things, you can see my enemy here. Excuse me, my enemy here. Again, guys, it shouldn't be possible unless we're facing with multiple players who are playing with the same scope. But I generally don't think so, because it is the same tactics, it is the same tanks, and it is just crazy how many tanks that we end up fighting against during this match. But 50 seconds towards the end of phase 2, and we're gonna be up by a +2, and you can see at the back there briefly you spot another 6 enemy BMPs already to the front. That's just not possible, guys. It's just crazy how the enemy team has just resorted to cheating in this game. Now, personally, I think cheating obviously is going to be a bad thing for the game, but whoever's cheating right now, if you're watching this video, it's a skill issue, man. Like, there's no need to resort to cheating. But solid kill from my ally there with his cluster, able to take out the whole train of enemy units and really pushing our points to a substantial amount right now. So that single kill just before phase 2 was really clutch. For myself right now, with my 3 available tanks, I'm gonna be playing it relatively safe. Just gonna make sure that they engage us in a position where we want them to engage us in. That way, the enemy tanks is gonna expose themselves to my Viper and my tanks as well. Lav again managed to ambush the enemy helicopters, but unfortunately unable to take both out. So that was really sad for me. My Lav in this game, although doing really well, but it kind of sucks that they weren't able to take the kills themselves. So I was keeping an eye on the enemy helicopters that are falling back right now. Very soon I'm gonna spot them heading towards a resupply point. So I figured, okay, I'm gonna take my gimlets here and target that spot. Helicopters, when they're hovering on low altitude, is actually gonna be vulnerable to artillery strikes, because the explosive damage that is caused by those strikes is gonna sort of splash over and destroy or damage the enemy helicopter. So, not to mention that by hovering right on top of the ammo dump, the explosion itself is gonna cause both helicopters to take a massive amount of damage. But with the information provided by allied drones, I was able to spot or sort of understand that the enemy is gearing up for a massive tank push towards our direction. So right now, we're just figuring out how to quickly destroy any of these things. But for now, my artillery is going to take out as many pieces as we can, and notably so, I'm going to be targeting the enemy AA as much as possible. Supplies to the front line, very crucial, because I need to patch up my tanks and keep them at full health, as well as full ammo to engage these enemy forces here. Now you notice this group of enemy units here, so I'm just going to be targeting it with my cluster. The cluster gimlets is actually a very useful, very effective tool to have in your belt if you're playing with, I believe this is available to the Marine side or the armor team, not sure. Now, briefly, the enemy was deciding to push up, but I think because my cluster came in, sort of scared them for a little bit and have them push back. But here comes the B2 Spirit. That's one way to deal with cheaters, I think. So that nuclear strike does take out a lot of the enemy assets that was sitting in Echo right now. Again, I think that was the 3rd nuclear strike of this game. But seeing how Echo is kind of cleared right now, I'm going to be rushing my forces forwards in order to capture Echo and sort of take better position for myself. Gonna be pushing the front lines a little further ahead. At the same time, I'm sort of developing a position here on the left where I don't see a lot of enemy movement so far. So I'm gonna be pushing my units there and see if I can be in a position where I can sort of ambush the enemy troops coming in. Viper's gonna move up as well. My ally here deciding to drop and perform an airdrop of infantry into Echo itself. Lav AD managed to catch out the enemy Spetsnaz GRU team, which is really great because the Spetsnaz GRU potentially has stingers equipped that could actually take out my Viper. A little bit of preemptive fire from the enemy artillery. However, our units managed to dodge that. Nice cluster by the enemy team here. Does catch my tank, but I'm gonna be quickly reversing it out of action, hopefully to get it resupplied and repaired. As you can see, we're quickly taking Echo again, but the enemy artillery was really point here. Lav does take damage, so I'm gonna have to watch out as well. So I see that my ally here does bring in a lot of infantry, but is gonna be vulnerable to enemy tanks. So with my tanks in play, I'm gonna be looking to support his infantry. Together, I was hoping that we could take these two tanks out and again push ahead so we can secure better positions. Sep V2 trophy here is going to be bumping into the enemy Vampire team. Again, those two factories there with the cornets posing a lot of threat to my tanks. My trophy is going to be taking out the enemy Strelets there, further clearing the skies so that our helicopters and aircrafts are safe to conduct strikes on the enemy team. Now at this point, I don't think there was a lot of enemy tanks able to contest with my tanks, so I'm going to be fast moving my trophy to see if I can catch out the enemy artillery, and I believe that's a S300, just to take pieces for myself. When you push through the enemy frontline tanks, generally it's a good idea to use speed and aggression to see if you can catch out the enemy supporting units up there. But again, double T72 is going to be respawning very quickly, guys, and our units is going to be engaging the enemy tanks there. So you see me briefly smoking out the tank and targeting the crossroad over there with my gimblers. The idea being, I was hoping that the enemy would charge straight at my tank, and the timing of this would be just nice so that I can catch these enemy units out in place. In this case, good timing on my end. We managed to catch one tank out, really damage the enemy boomerang forces that was trying to rush in. Even though I didn't kill them directly, I was able to cause them to rethink their push and sort of pull back. But now you see a whole lot of enemy tanks and BMPs are charging towards Echo. And this is when I realized, guys, like this game is something else. You can see again the rapid fire of the enemy T72. That thing is like a battleship with its with its rapid fire. That thing is just ridiculous. So I'm gonna be moving my Viper in, and because the enemy AA pieces was sort of destroyed by my tanks rush towards their backline over there, my Viper as well as the friendly Viper as well is gonna have free reign and really punish this cheetah's aggressive tank push. That sort of saved our forces here. This was a really intense game, and when I was playing this, I remember feeling like, yeah, there's something wrong with this game. Even though at that point I didn't realize they were cheating, but it was kind of fun to sort of play against the idea that the Russian does have unlimited resources and be throwing wave after wave of tanks towards a position. So we managed to shut that push down very quickly thanks to our Vipers. Unfortunately, my ally's Viper died in the process itself, but with those tanks sort of destroyed, we've gained ourselves a little bit of breathing room. Sep 3 trophy us manage to catch out that damaged boomerang, but it's gonna be intercepted by the enemy helicopters here. So I was trying to charge forward and trying to take out the enemy triple Malkas that was in the field, but unfortunately couldn't reach them in time. They managed to get out of the way. More enemy helicopters now engaging us, and finally my Viper goes down. and that was really sad for me, because now I'm forced to. I kind of don't have an answer to any constant enemy tank push, but thankfully my tank does take out one of the enemy helicopters, so that's gonna be great for us. Gonna be bringing in the house hogs just to see if we can push more infantry in this position and take more ground and cause more problems. But unfortunately, I kind of dropped them in a place where they were really exposed to enemy fire. So very quickly I'm gonna be moving my units away from the drop point and sort of have them take cover inside these buildings here. Yeah, what was that, guys? I mean, the T72 with its rapid fire cannon. It's like new Russian technology. Able to load 3 shells, fire them in succession like that. That's crazy, dude.
MLRS reporting in. Artillery moving out.
So yeah, enemy helicopter able to push up really deep into the back lines here, and my ally unfortunately wasn't paying attention to his Iron Thunders as well as his pack. His pack actually running out of ammo there with no supplies, and assume that that's the supply that was ringing in. I'm gonna be using my Hornets just to see if I can strafe the enemy helicopter. Unfortunately, with the enemy Su-57 in the sky is gonna take out my Hornet, and solid cluster strike by the enemy team does take out my Gimler. So you can see I'm quickly running out of units. My units are dying left and right, which does drop our point significantly. But we're on a +7 right now, so I think as long as we can keep the losses at a manageable rate and we hold on to the points at hand, we're still in a place where we can win this game. See the helicopters on the back side there. If you know what that is, I wasn't aware that helicopters could launch cruise missiles or having missiles that can fly at that range. Those felt like cruise missiles. So let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong, or that actually is a unit from the helicopters like that. But here, the enemy is going to be bringing up their fast attack vehicles and driving them straight down the road in order to capture more objective. I'm going to be pushing out my infantry into Echo to see if I can join my allies Marine and see if we can make something happen. Double enemy Pachela is going to come in. Oh, look at that, guys! That factory just got shelled and crumbled. It's ridiculous. So I noticed that the Echo is kind of lost for me, and it would be suicidal for my tank to push up with the 2 enemy helicopters there. Not to mention the god tier T72. So I'm going to be moving my tanks and Bradley into Bravo instead. Hopefully able to secure that objective before any enemy reinforcement comes in. Force Recon and Marine does take out the double Pachela helicopter there, which is really nice for us. Again, that tank, guys, like, it's crazy. And you see the line of tanks charging down this road here. I know for sure that my units will not be able to hold off. Normally, a single 73 Abrams is able to hold out against 2 T72s at long range, guys. and with my Bradley in place with its tow missiles, definitely we can take this fight. But with the enemy seemingly on endless supply of tanks, as well as its rapid fire cannon, there's no way I could defeat that. Choosing to smoke off that road here and see if I can buy more time. Thankfully, the game ends with us on a +10. We managed to secure the win. So yeah, very tough fight indeed. 9k KD, I mean 9k kills, 6,500 deaths, 1.45 KD, not bad. But it was definitely a very tough fight to be fighting against cheaters. But superior skills and superior understanding of how the game works really won us the game. So that's how we defeated the enemy cheaters. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.